Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Archer's Garage and Whatnot. Today we are back in the garage and we're doing mechanical work. So I'm working on my mom's Ford Fusion today. She developed a little bit of an oil leak, and she took it to I don't want to name the name of the store, but they are a mart that sells walls. So they yeah, they're interesting. She last time she took it there, they told her drain plug was leaking, so she bought a drain plug. She took it there this time. She said, "I got the drain plug." Well, we can't put that in there, so she still has an oil leak from her drain plug. Also, she took it to the Ford dealership down where she lives, and they said, "Well, there's some other oil leaks also." So they walked her through it. So anyway, she brought it to me. Her valve cover gasket's leaking, and it looks like it's leaking down on the front of the engine, so on the passenger side, which is the actual front of the engine. So it looks like the timing cover area. So I'm going to go ahead and do the valve cover gasket today and clean it up real good so you can see if anything else is I can't even talk. If anything else is leaking, we will see it after I clean it up real good. Anyhow, we're going to get started. I'm going to show you a set of tools I've got out, and it's a very simple job. Not a whole lot of tools are necessary for this, and you'll see that here in just a minute. All right, so to get started, here's what we've got. First thing, a leaf blower. It's kind of interesting to work on a car with, but you could also use an air compressor, but I wanted to show that anybody can do this, and not everybody has an air compressor, but a lot of people have leaf blowers for doing yard work and stuff. And this is to clean whatever debris you have up here. Like you may have dirt and road grime, whatever, on top of your engine. So you get in here and blow it off real good so it doesn't fall down in there when you get the valve cover off. 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter Ford, newer Fords, everything is 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, 13 millimeter, things like that. So anyway, I've got the oil drain plug, so I'll do that later. A couple quarts of oil, because when I pull the drain plug out, it's going to leak a little. I'm going to go ahead and do the filter because they didn't do that for her. Brake clean, for cleaning when I replace the gasket. Brake clean is a good thing to use because it dries, leaving no residue. That's a great thing to use. I'm going to use this instead of using a ratchet on everything, just because I have it. But you can do this with hand tools, but I have this, so I'm going to use it. And here's the valve cover gasket. I like to use quality stuff. Felpro's never failed me. Be sure you get good quality stuff there, guys. So anyhow, so this is what we're doing. So we've got to take this part off. This is your air snorkel, or I say snorkel, but it brings fresh air from up here, takes it to the intake back there. Let's see here. Then we've got all these 8 millimeters surrounding the valve cover gasket. This is held on with a 10 millimeter right here, and I assume, yep, there's one right there. That's going to be pretty well simple. You got a couple sensors, you got your coils, you got to take loose, things like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get them loosened up, guys. But what you do, you look at what you're taking loose, and you follow them to the edge, and you just get the hardware that's holding it on. And this one will also have hardware in the center. And then your coils, you got to take them loose, and you'll have an 8 millimeter on those, and you unplug them. And to unplug them, it's very simple. Squeeze it, pull it, done. Simple as that, guys. Anybody can do this. I don't know what else to tell you on that. It's very, very easy. I'm gonna go ahead and get it off. If I run into something I need to tell you guys about, I will stop and video it and let you know. I'll be back. All right, guys, so we're getting it apart here. Well, I wanted to show you this. One reason to do the valve cover gasket is external leaks, which this one absolutely has. But another is internal leaks. And if you look, you may not be able to see it, but down here where the spark plugs are, you see is a lot of oil down inside that hole. And in that one. And then when you pull the coils out, you'll have oil soaked in there. So what will happen is the gasket around that spark plug hole, it'll fail, and then the oil will leak into that. So you may not see it on the outside. It'll leak down in there, and a lot of times it'll fill that whole thing up, and it'll short the spark plug out. It'll do all kinds of funky stuff drivability wise. This one wasn't having that. The car's running good, but that is one of the things you'll look for. We just happened to see it or I just happened to see it when we pulled it apart. Anyhow, one way to fight this, when I pull it apart, I'm gonna replace that, but I'm gonna pull the spark plugs out, and that oil's got to go somewhere, right? So it's a good idea to suck that oil out. So you get a vacuum pump, or you can blow it out, or you can let it go down in the cylinder. If you choose that route, it's not the best way to do it, but it is a decent way to do it if you do it smartly. Let the oil go down in there, let it sit for an extended amount of time to let the oil sit on the piston and seep down past the piston rings. Don't let it get in there and then just crank the engine over, because you could hydrolock the engine and bend a rod. So if you're going to do it this route, take the spark plugs out, the oil falls down in the cylinder. Don't put the spark plugs back in and just fire the engine up. Let it sit there for a day. I mean, it could take a while. So let the oil sit in the cylinder long enough to seep past the rings and get back into the crankcase. That's the way I'm doing it. I don't recommend it if you don't have a lot of time. If you do have a lot of time, it's okay to do it. Just beware when you do it this way, there's always a chance of hydrolocking an engine. Be patient with it. Let it sit and seep past the rings. So anyhow, let me get back to work, guys. All right, guys, so I've got the valve cover off. So what I was talking about, the gaskets that will allow oil to fill the spark plug holes, is these guys in here. So you've got your cams right in here. So this is upside down, right? So as the cams are spinning and slinging oil, these gaskets are here to keep the oil in these guys. Well, when these gaskets get old and brittle and they have flat spots in them, I mean, you can barely even feel them because they're old and brittle and have flat spots on them. Anyway, they allow that oil to sling in here to where your spark plug holes are, and they will fill up your spark plug holes. And where your coil packs go in this way, so this is upside down, but anyway, they go in here. Well, where that hole is, it'll fill up with oil. And anyway, that's why we're changing that. So we're going to change these. And when you're doing these, in these corners here, where the where the cylinder head meets up with the cover, the timing cover, you'll want to put a dab of silicone here and here. I like these engines, this style of engine, because you don't have to use a whole lot of silicone. The gaskets do a pretty darn good job of that. Any good mechanic will tell you they don't like silicone. I do not like silicone. You only put it where you need to. Anybody that says they like silicone, don't trust them with your engine, because they're a hack. But anyway, so you'll put it right where the cylinder head and the other thing, whatever that is, it'll be on this one. Will be the timing cover will meet up to it, so you'll have a gap here. So you just put a dab there and a dab there, and it'll seal up just fine. So anyway, so that's where we're at, guys. So I'm going to be replacing this. This is the old, see here, here's the old silicone. That's what I'm talking about. That's all you'll need, is just a dab and a dab. So let me go ahead and replace all these gaskets. And Mom's engine's looking nice and clean. It's got 15,000 miles on it. Nice and clean inside. And the only other thing I'm going to have to buy is a dipstick, because I pulled the end off of it. When I was trying to pull it out, it popped the head off of the dipstick. But these things happen, right? And if that's as bad as my day gets, I'll be doing all right. All right, guys, let me go ahead and put the gasket in. All right, guys, so there's the new gasket all installed. I like Felpro. These are so pretty. If you look, I don't know how it'll show up on here, but it's actually elevated here, probably a good 1/16 of an inch. The old gasket, you could barely even catch your finger on. So it was definitely worn out, and you can tell when you get it out, it's very unpliable, or not pliable at all. How about that? And anyhow, so over here, so I took the brake clean, sprayed it all around the outside. I went ahead and put my dab of silicone there and there where the cylinder head meets up with the timing cover. A little bit goes a long way, guys. So if you do it, just a small dab, and it looks like it. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it together. This is where you got to be careful. You don't want to put it there and have to move it around, because that's going to smear your silicone. Put it on there, be sure about it. And I've already loosened up my spark plugs. Ooh, dropped my wrench. I loosened up my spark plugs, let the oil drain down in there. I'm going to let it drain for a good day or so. Probably doesn't need that much, but it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So anyhow, that's where we're at. Let me go ahead and throw it in there. All right, so here we are back together. Nothing real scientific about putting it back together. Just so the bolts stay in their respective spot. When you turn it over, they've got a thing that holds them in there, so it'll keep her, unless you really mess up and pull them out. When you go to tighten them up, you run them in, and then just a little extra. You don't want to really hammer down on them, because remember, you're going into aluminum. The head's aluminum, and this thing is plastic. You don't want to crack this. You don't want to strip the aluminum. So it's just snug. Tighten it, and then just a little bit more. You don't want to kill it. And there's really nothing else that you need to know about here. Like I said, I'm gonna let it sit for a few hours before I fire it up. Probably tomorrow morning or so. Let that oil seep past those rings. And now it's going to smoke. If you do it this way, it's going to smoke for a little bit, because you've got oil in your cylinder. So just be ready for that. And that's about it, guys. All right, guys. So that's about it for today. Very easy job. Anybody can do this. No sense going to the dealership and paying, I don't even know what they would charge for this, but I've literally been at it for an hour. They would probably charge you 2.5 hours, and I don't know, they charge $100 an hour. And you can do this with simple hand tools. And if you've never done this, it would take you maybe an afternoon. So save yourself a couple $100. The gaskets cost me $25-30, something like that, and that's a good quality gasket. That's a Felpro gasket. I would put them on anything. Yeah, no sense paying the big guy the bucks, man. You can keep it in your pocket, get a little bit of experience, do it yourself, and you learn along the way, and you see what the inside of your engine looks like. You see the quality of your oil changes, and see how it's taking care of everything. So there you go. I hope you liked the video. It was short and sweet, and not a whole lot of technical stuff about it. Just it's a valve cover gasket. It's not a whole lot of technical stuff you can do in a valve cover gasket. But if you do like this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate you joining me here on Archer's Garage and Whatnot, and I hope you have a blessed day, everybody. Thank you.